Welcome to Great Practice, Great Life by Atticus Incorporated. What if you could hang out with successful small and solo law firm attorneys, ask them about their successes and failures, their business strategies and mindset habits, then take an insight or two to guide your own growth in your practice? Each week, Steve Riley shares an in-depth look at how to work less while maintaining high client service standards, reduce your stress levels while growing your income, and find time to make changes when you are time-starved. Steve is a lawyer coach for more than 20 years and a former trial attorney. His goal is to provide strategies to help you balance your lives and grow your practice. Now, here's Steve.
Hey, Steve Riley, welcome to this episode of Great Practice, Great Life. And we have a phenomenal episode for you today with someone who's new to our community who's already making an impact. And that is attorney, and I dare say, athlete, Lea Anne Groover. Lea Anne, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
I am fantastic. Thank you. Happy to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're here, and you're fairly new to the Atticus community. And I think you joined Atticus in a one-on-one capacity, about a year ago?
Yes, exactly.
And how did you get introduced to Atticus? Like, how did you trip into us, or how did we trip into you?
So a friend introduced me to Mark Powers, and we connected, and he connected me with Teresa, and I'm forever grateful.
So you work with one of our, we've nicknamed them adjunct practice advisors. So in your case, you worked with Teresa Morgan, who is a phenomenal coach, a phenomenal member, and runs a fantastic practice. In fact, she was on, I think, 2 different episodes, but one in particular, she talks about the lifetime legacy. So I'm going to reference that, put that in the show notes. So if anybody wants to check out Teresa and Teresa's story, it's a fantastic story. She's just awesome. And she's going through some challenges right now, right? So, and I don't want to talk too much about that, but you started with Atticus. And why'd you come to Atticus? Like, what was the cause? What was going on?
Well, as a new solo practice, it was very overwhelming. There's so many moving parts, and the Wonka toy where the thing keeps jumping up. You hit one thing and the other jumps up. It just felt like it was just kind of craziness. And so I sought out at the advice of a good friend of mine to get a business coach. And that's been a huge help. Has made a tremendous difference in my life.
Gotcha. And so your friend said, go get a coach. And I mean, you come from a pretty extensive background in banking. You've got your law degree, you have a certified financial planner, I think you're a trust officer. You came to start practicing, my recollection was like in 2015. And,
right.
And then did you open up your practice when you had this amazing, easy, smooth place in your life, or what was going on?
No, I haven't found that easy, smooth place in my life yet. But I'll put the smoke signals up when I do find it. But at any rate, so yeah, as far as my background, I say I grew up in the trust world as a trust officer for some of our major regional banks, and had a tremendous opportunity to be chief fiduciary officer for a de novo bank. I was employee number 5. We were working off milk crates and cell phones before the bank was even open. So I was in charge of getting the trust department up and running, working with the OCC to get our everything in place so that we would be able to open with trust powers. And it was at that time I had this epiphany that most chief fiduciary officers are attorneys. So I better get busy and go be an attorney so that I keep my game up, and fell in love with the law and decided I wanted to practice law. So I finished law school December 2014, passed the bar in 2015, and started practicing with a mid-sized law firm. And at the same time, I was dealing with caring for aging parents and trying to be an old first-year associate. And there was just a lot of things going on. And went back with the bank for a little while, and then 2020 came, and the year before my mother had passed away. So it was kind of a blank sheet of paper. What's the next step here? And so that was to open my own practice. So very end of 2020, I opened my own practice and proceeded to be an attorney. So I practice estate planning and probate, and do serve as fiduciary in certain cases. A lot of trust fiduciary litigators like to tap me in to be a new trustee where I'm a professional trustee, but disinterested. And so that sometimes the lawsuit can settle. They could get a disinterested party in. So I've got three parts of the practice going. And that's a lot too, to have the three different avenues going.
So you've really only been practicing on your own for about 5 years, which is in itself
Right.
impressive, right? So we got 5 years in practice. We lost your mom 5 years ago. You decided to, at that point in time, decided to go for it, like open up your own practice. And I imagine there's probably a couple hundred lawyers right now going, "Have you lost your mind? You could have stayed with the bank, right? What were you thinking? What were you thinking? You had a good gig going. You just lost your mom, and you decided to do this. What are you, crazy lady?"
Right. I get
Right.
that a
So,
lot. I get it.
and just a shout out to you. I'm going to put your website link for any of the lawyers in Florida that are looking to a fiduciary, because you do have some remarkable credentials and you do have some really remarkable capabilities that any law firm could tap into. So I'm going to make sure, if you're a lawyer you're looking for someone who could be a fiduciary part-time or full-time on a case. When I say part-time, I mean like for a transitionary period, you're a great solution. I mean, I'm looking at your resume and like, when back in the day when I was practicing, I would have loved to have somebody like you on my Rolodex on my team. Like, hey, Lea Anne, I got this weird thing. Can you be a trustee for a while, or would you be willing to be a trustee? Or hey, you know, what's the deal, right? So you've got a lot of amazing background. So the
It's super helpful because I have the knowledge of how it works, and also I have the legal knowledge and skills of how it's supposed to work, and what are the implications, the tax implications, or the whole how it pieces together on like a super high net worth overall estate plan. So I do have a unique set of skills and abilities to bring to the table.
yeah, you really do. You really do. So with that being said, that's not why you're here today.
No, no.
You came on, you've been working with Teresa, and then with Teresa battling cancer. Then you got, I guess, a backup coach for a while, right?
Second string is had to jump in.
Yeah, second string. And who's your second string coach right now?
Oh, that would be this Mark Powers.
Mr. Powers, the second string. So the Mark Powers, which is a phenomenally gifted coach.
Yeah,
And
he's had big shoes to fill, but he is doing a spectacular job.
you've taken on some extraordinary challenges in the past year. And I want to talk about what this major challenge is, because you're doing something that actually is causing the business to grow. It causes you to get more referrals. It causes you to make more money. And so I'm letting other lawyers know that, because when we start talking about what you're doing, they'll say, there are no way I'm going to do that. Like, there's no way I'm going to do that. But before we get to the challenge, I think your coach, Teresa, had you do something very basic and very focused. What was that?
So we started out with my Great Life Planner. One of the items on this, the one that made the single most hugest impact on my life, is the one little section about health builder habit. And I write in there, move. And so I just wanted to move every day, something. I was getting on the Peloton 20 minutes. That's it. I think you even had a podcast from someone that was like a Peloton advocate. That
That's
helped me.
true. That's true.
That pushed me along too. I hear that in my head still.
That,
And so
that was true. It's Jonathan White, and he and I got in an argument called, why exercise is a waste of a good billable hour. And we'll put that in the show notes as a link too. But yeah, Jonathan did a great job of
yeah,
that.
please do that was impactful as well. So the idea was, okay, I've just got to move every day. And many years ago, I was an avid runner, and I've run several marathons, and I just could not get that part of me back. was just, I just couldn't stick to it. I just couldn't stick to it. But now I had this move on my calendar every day. I started to go back and write in the number of miles that I did. And she's like, my gosh, Lea Anne, you're doing a lot of miles. Well, then I did a triathlon, a little sprint triathlon. And then
But
I did,
wait a minute. You went from being 65 pounds overweight, right?
yes, yes. So here, I was a little hefty, a little hefty. So
Okay, so you went to 65 pounds and moving.
55 pounds
Moving.
goes back before the Teresa. So I had gotten rid of some. So from
Okay.
this last year, I'm down 30 pounds this year. But my all-time high, just to kind of give you an idea of the struggle that I was facing with just moving, just moving. I just needed to move. And so yes, I was out there doing a little sprint triathlon.
What is a sprint triathlon? I mean, that does not. That sounds like it's a it's like a counterintuitive statement. Like a, I mean, it doesn't make sense to me. Like sprint triathlon. I mean, it's like a long run. I mean, fast run. I mean,
Right. They come in all different distances. So a sprint is a 1.5 kilometer swim, a 40K bike, and a 10K run. And that's kind of the shorter version. Whereas yeah, I'm not even going to get it right, but the Ironman is the one that the mileage total is 140 something miles. So it varies the gamut there. But with that, I ended up doing what would have been a half Ironman and ended up qualifying to represent Team USA in the World Championship triathlons in Pontevedra, Spain. It's the most bizarre, like out of the blue kind of thing. I qualified because at my age, there's not as many participants, but now that I qualified, I have buckled down and I have been super, super busy on not embarrassing myself and my family when I get to Spain.
are the country. You can't embarrass the country. You're running
I
for us.
know.
Don't you embarrass the country. The heck with your family. Everyone's
No
counting on you.
pressure.
All of Atticus is counting on you now. All right, so
I know.
let me get this straight because I know a couple of people like
This is
lost.
like
I'm
totally
lost.
snowballed so fast. Yes.
Okay, so we started with putting on the My Great Life Focus daily move.
Move.
Then we
I
started
did.
doing Peloton. Then we're starting to put miles. And then we do these things that you call marathon. They're not sprints. Those are like significant endurance activities. But I guess in comparison to some more major ones. And then somewhere in there, because of your age, do you want to talk about your age? How old are you?
I just turned 60 years old.
Ah, happy birthday. So at age 60, you do a marathon, right?
Well, no, I did a triathlon that was kind of a half Ironman distance.
Okay, so
I did a big triathlon.
okay, so you did a big triathlon. You scored well enough that based on your age group, then you qualify to represent Team USA worldwide. Is that basically how this went down?
Yeah, I don't like it's hard for me to hear it and believe it at the same time, but yes, and I'm doing it. Because when am I going to get the chance? When am I going to get the chance again? Right? So I'm pushing hard. I'm pushing hard. But the collateral damage has been amazing, and I don't
How's
damage
that?
not in a
Okay,
bad thing, in a very good way.
okay. Let me get clear on this. So you call it collateral damage,
No, I
or
guess damage is a
is a wonderful byproduct?
byproduct.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
So it's a wonderful
it's been a
byproduct.
very positive, very positive.
Okay. So what you thought would be this would be a disaster. We not only qualify to represent Team USA, we lose a significant amount of weight. We take on a challenge to represent USA worldwide on the team, right? And we're doing that in Spain when?
That would be June 29th.
June. So basically, right now, it's the 10th that we're recording this. So we'll have to find out what happened, right? And so you're basically, more or less 3 weeks out. Oh my God.
Less than 3 weeks. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, oh my God. So, and During this time period, how much time are you dedicating during the week for training?
Anywhere from 6 to 10 hours, I think, when you all told. My weekends, right now, my weekends are pretty consumed with training, very much.
Hey, Steve, I want to talk to you about something that's big news here at Atticus. We've heard from so many trial lawyers over the years that they want a program exclusively for them. Now, this is not one-on-one coaching. This is actually a group program where other trial lawyers get together to focus on, first, how to increase the income from their practice, 2, how to protect their focus, confidence, and energy, and 3, how to learn from each other and refer work to each other. So if you think you're interested in joining a program like this, or you have a friend of yours that's a trial lawyer that you think they need to join a program like this, pick up the phone and call us now at 888-644-0022. That's 888-644-0022, or click the link in the show notes to get more information. Look, the trial practice is a difficult practice. I know, I did it for a decade. The quicker you take action and the quicker you build that great practice, the quicker you'll get that great life that you're dreaming about. Take action. Don't think about it. Go. Thank you. Now, you said something crazy, though, that is you started moving and now we're competing worldwide in a very brief period of time. What period of time was that? Like, how long did that take?
Well, I started with Teresa a year ago, like a year ago. It could be today, this month, a year ago, June of last year.
That's awesome. So 1 year ago, you wrote Move, and now a year later, you're representing Team USA and you're going to Spain to do it. You are so awesome. Congratulations.
I'm still writing Move, by the way. I still write Move on my calendar every day.
Yeah, but you're now having to write Move more, like move a lot more.
I'll move more. Now I'm trying to move faster, but
Move more, faster, quicker. But the collateral byproduct, let's talk about so there's great things. Like sometimes when you set a goal, it's like dropping a great big rock in a puddle and things splash everywhere. And you start this goal called Move, and it caused this massive splash. Right now, there's probably lawyers and team leaders and people thinking, my God, this must have cost you time, money, and effort. Like your practice must be suffering from it. And you're shaking your head no. So people watching on YouTube can see you shake your head no, but you're saying no. Why not?
My clarity of mind has improved tenfold to begin with. Just focus, so much easier to focus, and physically the weight's down. Cholesterol was 200, now it's 130, and the weight we talked about, that's down substantially. My resting heart rate is ridiculous. It was 66, it's now 46.
Oh my God.
Healthy. And I'll just throw one more tidbit in there about the health, because of something another one of your podcasts mentioned the health, or not the scorecard. You talked about a scorecard.
The happiness scorecard?
Yes. And you know what? When was the last time you had a physical? Do you know I hadn't had a physical since 2020?
That's Kevin Snyder, happiness scorecard. Yeah, physical.
And listen, I went to the doctor, and just because family history, they did a heart scan, and I'm in the 90th percentile for calcium buildup. And if I was not exercising, if I was not moving like I'm moving, this time next year would be probably a much different story. It's absolutely amazing. So my cardiologist is all about me doing all this exercise as well. A strong heart is a healthy heart, he says. So all this physical, great, wellness stuff, mental health improved, the whole thing.
Okay, so
the practice, revenue.
Yeah, let me make sure I get this straight before we shift to the practice, okay? Because Kevin Schneider, who did the happiness scorecard and put that on there, and then Jonathan White are going to be like so ecstatic about this. They'll be just really happy, because that's the whole goal of these episodes, right? To support other people up to doing things. So right now, what you're sharing is a phenomenal story, a phenomenal outcome. You said it improved your clarity tenfold, improved your focus tenfold. The big thing that I've argued with everybody on with the My Great Life Focus, and sometimes we call it the planner, is that it's designed to engage your brain, engage you into a practice called metacognition, thinking about how you think and making you reflect and strategize and decide what to put and what to focus on. And so for you, how did that play out? Because you're saying you got a tenfold increase in clarity, which is a phenomenal statement to say. So explain that more to me, please.
Because there are so many things on your plate as a solo practitioner, wherever you are in your journey, and especially I think in the beginning of your journey as a solo practice, because you're learning so much more about running a business that you don't pick up in law school, and you don't pick up if you're an associate. So you've got that learning curve to climb, and you wanting to give the best that you've got to give to your clients. There's just a lot. There's a lot. And you have to be able to prioritize and identify what you need to be working on. So just having simple, okay, these are the three things that I'm going to try to get done today. So I can put everything else on the shelf and focus on one thing, and knowing that, all right, I don't have to try to keep all that in my head, or it's not tucked over here or tucked over there. It's one place, and I don't have to worry. It's going to be there waiting for me, and so I can 100% focus on the task at hand. And my office, we celebrate check marks. You hear it down the hall, hey, another check mark, because we got it done.
Yeah, I got it. So let's stay here just for a minute, and I'm going to, while everyone's listening, I'm going to first thank you for what you shared, because it was incredibly important. I know it doesn't sound like it, but it is incredibly important, because really, if you're trying to build that great life and you're trying to build that great practice, you have to take a moment and decide that morning, what are the most important things for me to focus on? And the reason we chose three was based on research done by the author Peter Drucker from his book, it came out in the 60s, called The Effective Executive. And he studied executives at GM. And he said the most highest performing executives focused on the three highest impactful things a day. And so when we studied how to design this process, we chose three based on Drucker's work. Like, these are the top three things to focus on today. And Drucker said these were the things. So what you have to do is just take all that stuff, all that noise, all the radar, everything that's happening. And like you said, the whack-a-mole, you got to say, okay, but today would be a great day if I do these three things. So for you, the exercise plus the clarity of completing the Migrate Life Focus daily is where you got the tenfold clarity. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but the whole concept of moving, especially people in my age group, is very, very important for the brain, and a healthy lifestyle at this age. So I think there's not only the act of doing that. I think physiologically, what I understand, that chemically inside my body is making my brain clearer as well.
Yes. Yeah.
There's You understand what that's my understanding, and I've heard studies and stuff like that, but
You're totally correct. You're totally correct that exercise improves cognitive function. And the only other thing that can improve cognitive function better than exercise, or as well as exercise, is meditation. Their studies actually support that if you're depressed, anxious, you're struggling with mental focus, the most important strategy is actually move and exercise and get your heart rate up, because it actually stimulates that brain. So it's fascinating. It's really great stuff. It's counterintuitive. But we're designed to move as creatures, right? Yeah, not designed to do marathon sprints or crazy stuff like you're doing. I'm just going to say it that way right now.
I don't
Crazy,
know.
you crazy woman. Sprint. I don't know. I'm going to have to look this stuff up. Sprint and marathon. That makes no sense. So, so what other are some of the other byproducts, collateral byproducts of this crazy goal?
that's kind of like the physical and mental health issue. Then just looking at my practice numbers, on my revenues up 30%, my net income, bottom line, is tripled in the past year because I've cleaned out. My website traffic has doubled.
Why do you think that is? I mean, your income's tripled. We've gone up our growth by 30%. You're focused more on exercise. You're getting your mind clear. What are the three most important things I got to get done today, or three greatest things? What's happening? What are you doing that's causing this?
Well, the part of the focuser is focusing on what's important, and without the focuser, you'd be wasting time that is better served elsewhere. The other, this is probably a good part to bring up. What Mark talked me into doing was sending a weekly email about this crazy journey I'm on to Spain. I struggle with the marketing piece of this whole puzzle that we have of our private practice. So he suggested that I send out this email about my journey. And it doesn't feel like I'm marketing at all, because I'm not really talking about, a trust or a will based plan or a trust based plan. It's not, it's very lighthearted, kind of humorous, funny pictures, stuff, just this kind of wacky stuff that I experience along the way. And the fallout from that, I believe, directly impacts the website traffic. Referrals are coming in, and I'm running into people that are receiving it, tell me that they are enjoying reading my weekly email, can't wait for the next one, and cheering me on. It's just amazing is not enough to describe how the experience that I've had from doing this email.
Yeah, so it's great because I will say, Mr. Powers knows a thing or two about marketing, and he knows a thing or two about referral-based marketing in particular. He's a genius at it, despite all the little caustic second-string remarks I was in his direction, right? But what is brilliant about this, and I hope everybody's listening, is that you didn't market the thingies that you do from a lawyer perspective. You were sharing your journey, your story, your challenge, this great life adventure that you're on, and that you're taking on this incredible thing at age 60 to represent Team USA. And you're sharing how you're doing it while, after losing your mom, after opening up your own practice. And you're doing this as a human challenge, like a heroic challenge, like it's a heroic quest to do this thing. And I think all human beings that are up to something will totally, utterly buy in. Now, I'm not doing a marathon sprint thing, right?
Never
It's
say
not
never.
it's not happening.
Never say never.
Never say never. But I'm sure as heck, and I'm going to put a couple links in the show notes for people who can see the newsletters, because it's a simple, elegant way of communicating to people. Here's what I'm up to. Here's what I'm out to do, and here's what's going on. And they're funny. I read one before coming on this morning. This afternoon. Sorry, I read one before I came on, and they're great. You're a great writer. These are a lot of fun. So, what else happened? What are the other collateral benefits for you out of this?
The incredible support that I've received from family, friends, colleagues, and clients all alike has been a super affirmation, to know that I've got this tribe, I've got this support system as part of it. I'm not out there just doing this by myself, and it is always encouraging when you've got a team on your side. And the support that I've received has been tremendous. And then, of course, the health and the impact on the practice through the whole, just from writing the word move down on my planner, is just unbelievable.
So, if we look and you look back from where you started a year ago to today, when you engaged Teresa Morgan, Atticus, and then, while Teresa's fighting cancer, Mark, is covering for her and stepping up. And like you said, big shoes to fill. And getting ready now to represent Team USA worldwide, which is just, it's just cool to say. It's just cool to say. If you were to give advice to someone else about taking on a great life adventure, beginning with move to representing Team USA, what would be 3 things that you would say? These are 3 practical or 3 recommendations you'd pass on. Because you are on fire, you feel great, you sound great, your practice is doing well, you're very, very focused. That's not where you were a year ago.
No, no,
So
no.
what if some lawyer who's listening to this who's like, I'm with Steve, I'm not going to do that sprint marathon thingy, but the growth, tripling my income, the growth of my practice by 30%, I'm all down for. Maybe losing some weight, I'm down for. What would be the 3 pieces of advice that you'd give them?
The most important is taking care of yourself does not mean that it takes away from your practice. It is just as important.
That's crazy talk. You realize that there's a lot of lawyers saying that's crazy talk, right? Why do you say that?
Right, right, right. Because I am a huge Stephen Covey fan. It's all about sharpening the saw. You have to stop and sharpen the saw. And for me, sharpening the saw is moving. For the next person, it might be crafting. It might be, needlepoint. It might be, whatever it is for you that sharpens your saw. You need to put that on your calendar every day, every day. And it does not mean that it is taking away from the practice. In fact, it will improve the practice. I think that's like the number 1 piece of advice. And then 2 is just it's so important to be out there, be visible, to be seen. That's kind of that's part of the fallout from the email. Like I put myself out there and kind of I did make myself vulnerable by sharing all this. Man, what a difference. Now I've got a team. I've been able to surround myself with people that are supporters. So the second is just surround yourself by your teammates. And then the third is the importance of the knowledge base. I don't think we really touched on this, but there's always going to be something new to learn in our practice and in life. So you have to always be open, and I'll have to lean on my father's advice or mantra. He says, the day that I don't learn something new is the day that I'm 6 feet under the end. You've got to learn something new every day. There's always something new to learn. So those are my 3 pieces of wisdom.
I think those are fantastic because the third one is a growth mindset. Like no matter what, you're growing, you're learning. You're always in the position of trying to find something to learn, something to expand on. The second one I want to talk a little bit more about because the missing ingredient that you didn't say, but I thought I heard, is the courage to take a risk, to be vulnerable. Where did you find the courage?
I'm not sure where I found it or what pushed me over the edge to Mark suggested that I do this email, and it took weeks. He didn't tell me to do it, and then I did it. Oh no. I dragged my feet for a good 3 to 4 weeks before I put something out there because I was nervous. But it took me that long to do it. But the more I kind of thought about the email, like what fun! But this is such a crazy, wild situation that I've found myself in. Super fun, and every week there's something that I find, learn, or funny that has happened, and like what fun would that be to share? I can share, I can share that, and so I just did it. I stopped thinking about the bad part of it and just trusted Mark's advice. Maybe that's the key, is to trust in the process. I surround you surround yourself with people to help you and educate you and wiser than your own self. Even with the training, found a coach to teach me how to get up the hill on the bike, and she's taught me how to swim better. So, and I've got Teresa, now Mark, to teach me how to kind of organize my thoughts better. And so he's the expert in this area, and so I just had to trust him.
I think that's perfect. So sometimes you have to trust your coach and have faith that your coach sees something, and you have to embrace and act in their belief in you.
Yeah.
Inside of Atticus, some of the coaches have a joke. And they're like, if it didn't work the first time, maybe this time you should try what your coach told you. There's a reason that you hired us. There's a reason that we're here to help. There's a reason that we've been doing this for 35 years. And we
Yeah,
know
but
some shortcuts.
it's still new territory,
I
for
know.
the student, and it's scary. And, it's no matter what, it's scary. It's scary,
That's it.
scary, scary. And
That's
so
it.
taking that leap and just trusting is huge. And I honest to goodness, I cannot point to what made me all of a sudden agree to, why did I all of a sudden say, okay, I'll do that. I don't know. I don't know. I had something funny happen, and I thought, oh, that would be fun to share. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but I know that trusting the advice is crucial. I'm just kind of slower on the uptake sometimes, maybe.
No. It's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect. So, because you said it beautifully, which is trusting the advice is one thing, right? The courage to embrace it is something else, because it is terrifying. The thought process of trusting the advice and trying it, sometimes you start small. Move, move. And I'm sure when you wrote move, it was nowhere did you write down represent Team USA, right?
Right.
That was not the goal. The goal was to move.
Yeah. So listen, this is what the race is: 1.8-mile swim, 75-mile bike, and an 18.5-mile run. What's in your wallet?
That is nuts. Like, that's nuts. That's totally nuts. Okay.
Yeah, super fun.
So, well, it doesn't sound super fun to me, but it sounds super fun to you, which is why it's your great life adventure, not mine. Okay. So let's talk about a couple other things, and then we'll start to wrap up. Okay. If there's someone listening to this episode right now who's struggling with taking on a move goal, and you've lost 65 pounds, you've really have transformed yourself, you dropped your heart rate, but resting heart rate from 66 to 44, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fairly significant improvement. You're making your cardiologist happy. If somebody's listening going, I just want to fit into my jeans better, what's your first piece of advice?
For me, the Peloton was fantastic. And I think the affirmations, the language, the words that you hear from the instructors from when you're doing a Peloton class are so uplifting and so encouraging. So if not Peloton, a group, you plug into a group, whether it's at a fitness center or whatever. So not doing it alone, and it alone doesn't mean you have someone next to you, because you're doing Peloton, you're alone, but you're not really, because you're plugging in and you're getting a fantastic message along with tracking. For some people just relish in check marks, and that's me. So I have a goal. I got to move today. I get to check it off. I moved, and so that's my biggest words of encouragement is just move. You don't have to do it alone.
Terrific. For someone who's looking at the My Great Life Focus, they open it up, they look at the planner, and they see it as a great big place to put to-dos, and I got to do this and I got to do that and blah, blah, blah. What would your first piece of advice be to someone, because you're fairly new to it, you've been using it about a year. What would your first piece of advice be to someone who just gets it in the mail, opens it up and goes, what do I do with this?
So you don't have to use every square inch of that planner. start with the habit builders and your top 3. If that's all you use it for, it's going to snowball into something bigger. But just starting, and seriously, I wrote the word move, and it has turned into this. So I would encourage anybody that opens it up for the first time, do not get overwhelmed by all the stuff that's in there. It's super powerful, but you don't have to use it all day one. Just start with 2 or 3 little sections and then move forward from there.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. The third question I have for you, and final question on this, is around marketing. So, Lea Anne, on the marketing front, what would your simple piece of advice be to people about, get out there and start marketing or get moving on getting new relationships?
Well, for me, it has been finding my own marketing voice. It is what feels good for me to how I communicate with people and getting my message out there, and things that I like to talk about, things that I do, and as far as my weekly emails, I love sharing my trials and tribulations. I like making people laugh, and it's a great combination, and it's getting me out there. And again, it's my voice. It doesn't feel like a false front or a marketing effort at all.
It's not. You're sharing your story, you're sharing your trials and tribulations, and I think people can totally relate to that. So I like the way you said that, sharing your marketing voice, but it combines with kind of your great life story. Like, this is my great life adventure. This is what's happening. This is what my life's about right now. And this is what I'm trying to do. And so people can connect and relate to it. I think it's fantastic. So how can people follow you on this adventure? So people are like, okay, I want to see more about what this woman's doing. How can people follow you more?
Well, we'll include the links. I think to my emails. I have a feeling once this is aired, I will have completed the race, and hopefully brought no embarrassment on anybody whatsoever. Family, friends, Atticus, like, I'm here to represent the world. But
No
so
pressure.
no pressure. That's all. That's all I know is pressure. But so yeah, so you can check out my website and watch for my next adventure, whatever that might be. But for now, that I think it's fun to review some of the older emails on this journey, because it has been loads of fun.
Fantastic. And one of the insights I came away from in this conversation with you, it seems like your firm got stronger as you got stronger. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely, that is a very accurate statement. You can look at the numbers. You can look at my physical numbers, my weight, my heart, my cholesterol. You can look at my financial numbers, the income, net income, the website traffic. Everything is up, or improved, I should say. As I improved, the practice improved as well.
Perfect. So you allowed me to conclude this particular episode just on the core theme. The whole show, everything the community is about, is helping people have a great life so they have a great practice. And I want to thank you for being a leader on that. Since joining our community a year ago, you've proven that if you take on a great life challenge and improve the life, you also improve the practice. So on behalf of the Atticus community, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining this week's episode of Great Practice, Great Life. Please tune in weekly to get the next episode. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, like, and don't hesitate to share it with a friend who you think this episode could help. With that, thanks, and I hope you enjoy next week's episode.